Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. Carl Kalon for the Sports Hit List by the fans and for the fans. We're going to get underway shortly. Thank you for joining us on December 1st. We're here on the final stretch of the year and so much to get into today. Special shout out to this entire Sports Hit List brand and everyone who continuously support our show and the things that we do here. Definitely appreciate everyone for supporting what we do. I'm just going to share the show here right now. Give me 1 second. Manny out here lying in the streets about me, talking about I said something that I didn't say. Next time, quote me right. Don't do that. I don't like that. I don't like when people put words in my mouth and say things that I said that I actually didn't say, because I didn't say that. So we have to cut the nonsense, because that's not cool. That's not cool at all. Mr. Z, are you in the building, sir? Mr. Z, can you hear me?
What's going on?
What's up, sir?
Yeah, what's going on? How are you?
Good, man. After school, they got you doing detention?
I know it's a lot going on, man. I guess when you put in enough years as a teacher, they start looking to you to take on a little bit more responsibility. So that's
I understand that. Absolutely, for sure. I know that for a fact. But that's good though, because it looks good on the resume. Absolutely, for sure.
that's what they always say. But you know what looks good on life? Rest. Rest looks good.
You ain't lying about that. How's the family doing? Getting ready for the holiday season?
Family good, man. Everybody chilling. Got a couple people out the country right now, but everything is good. Took on the basketball coach position here at the school, so trying to get that started. And
So what are you, coach? Head coach?
head coach, yeah.
You a head coach of the basketball team at the school? Look at you. Is that breaking news for the Hitless streets?
I guess you could say that. Yeah, trying to get the team together. Our first game is next Friday, I believe. So looking forward to that.
So what grades are you coaching?
This is going to be a combination of 6, 7, and 8.
Congratulations. Listen, man, if you need a video coordinator, you already know who to call. You need somebody out here recording these games, catching refs, making bad calls.
Hey, man, listen.
Give me a call. I get an intern down there for you, brother.
I know
Congratulations,
you're good,
man.
Once they vaccinate, they good to come through.
Listen, congratulations. That's definitely a great honor. I definitely got to spread the news on that one. That's dope. That's dope. Definitely helping out the kids.
Man, appreciate it. This is actually, not to cut you, this is actually Israel's middle school coming up.
Oh, Israel, like he goes there. He used to go
Yeah,
there.
like he went here years ago. Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. That's dope. But again, congratulations. I know you're definitely doing the best you can to help out the youth. I'm sure you should call in Coach Walmack to come in and do like a clinic. That'd be pretty dope.
Now, you know what? That's all of that came through my mind. You know what I mean? But Womack is very, very busy.
Yeah, he is. Can you hear me? Did I lose you? Are you there, bro? Are you there?
Yeah, you can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah, the Wi-Fi switched on me to the wrong network. What I was saying was Womack is a busy dude, but if I could definitely get a hold of him, I would love to make that happen where these kids actually get to see somebody who's certified in this basketball.
Absolutely. And I'm sure it's because you got the St. Francis Connect. You could even take them on a field trip down to, the Edward Accolone, Peter Accolone court or do something crazy down there at St. Francis.
You're right. Listen, man,
like I said, listen, I'm your PR guy. You need somebody for PR to work with these kids. Let me know what you need. I got you. But last night we had some goodies on the basketball season. I know there's other sports out there, but Smoke and Mirrors, they spent an entire hour talking about baseball on Monday. So did the Fan Zone did the same thing. They talked a lot about some baseball on Tuesday. So I'm not going to be the repetitive drum. I want to talk about last night's primetime games. First, we had the Battle in New York. The Nets get away with the win 112-110. Julius Randle finishes with 24, 9, and 8. Alec Burke inserted into the starting lineup, 25, 5, and 5. He seems to be scoring most of his points in the fourth quarter. Derrick Rose off the bench looked pretty good too, 16, 5, and 9. Close call. I actually was at Taco Tuesday with the missus, and when I left the restaurant, the Knicks were losing by like 12. And I'm like, oh, this is over, right? By the time I got home, it was already tied. I was like, whoa, here we go. So coming down the stretch, Mitchell Robinson had a crucial foul, which I stated for those who don't believe me. I didn't say if. All I said was that was a bad foul on his part. The Nets got lucky. But people want to twist my words and say that I said something that I didn't say. So, Manny? Yeah, of course, Manny. Yeah, of course. He's going to sit there and say I said if, and then Ray Jarvis wants to chime in and say, oh, I'm beating around it. It's still a if, whatever it is. Like people just like, it's like they have an obsession. They're obsessed. It's like they can't help themselves, obsessed. But anyway, as I was saying, last night's game, what were your thoughts? Did you get a chance to watch it? What were your thoughts?
No, to be honest, I did not get a chance to watch it. I kind of took a look at it via NBA.com because I was trying to put our own roster together for next week. But just from what I've seen and with the highlights that I was looking at, it seems like it's the same old stuff. Moral victories, you know what I mean? And at this point now, I think as Knicks fans, we're tired of hearing about moral victories. At some point, we're going to need to start beating these good teams. They did a good job as always when it comes to dealing with Brooklyn. They get up for those games, the whole rivalry and New York versus Brooklyn. So the New York Knicks are going to show up to do everything they can to beat the Nets. But moral victories aren't going to do anything. We need to start winning these games. Mitchell Robinson, I've been saying it for about a year now. I don't think he's worthy of any max contract just this point in his career. He doesn't bring any offensive tangibles to the game. He's not even a lockdown defender. He's just an agile big man that can run up and down the floor and block a few shots here and there. And he's always been one coming in with, his career. He's always been one to be very, very foul prone. He's like a lesser version of Jaren Jackson. It just really annoys me in all honesty. Shout out to Greg.
What are your thoughts about the Kimball Walker move? Now, I hate to say I told you guys so, but I know what happened with Kemba. It's really unfortunate that you guys had to move him to the bench. He's inactive, possibly getting traded. There are rumors swirling around with this John Wall, which I don't know how that could even happen.
We'll pass on that.
But Kimball Walker, and I've said this before in the comments, and I've been very highly about it. His best days were in Charlotte, and I was looking at, for some reason, like I'm obsessed with numbers, if you know me, and I look at a lot of, not that I'm trying to replace Andres, but just looking at how many games players play. And I looked at it, and he played a lot of, he played 282 game seasons, 181, 179. Really, he played a lot in Charlotte. By the time he got to Boston, it seems like we got the back end of Kemba. He was already in his 30s. And now you guys are getting the real back end of Kemba. So what are your thoughts with them benching Kemba, especially after, I guess, a month of play? You guys, I guess Thibodeau realizing that he's not it. Was that even enough to determine? And where do you go from here with Kemba?
Well, I mean, I think at this point, first to answer the first part of the question, I agree with Coach Thibodeau. When you watch the Knicks games, he wasn't really effective on the court. I think the last big scoring output that he gave us was, I think, 24, 26 points when we played Charlotte a couple games back, and we actually lost that game. But before then and in between, and afterwards, he hasn't been really producing on the court. Between him and Evan Fournier on the court at the same time, the Knicks had the worst plus minus in the league. So that's definitely not a good, stat that you want to have on your squad. And as you said, we got him on the very, 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 very back end. I know a lot of people were very excited. We we finally got a point guard, somebody that, an upgrade over Alfred Payton, let Derrick Rose get his minutes off the bench. But that knee has been shaky since, his last season in Charlotte, where he started to miss some games. And as you alluded to earlier, playing in Boston, you wasn't really getting to see cardiac Kemba. You was just seeing Kemba Walker now, you know what I mean? So moving forward.
Not to mention, sorry to cut you, but the one thing I will say, though, we have a history of running point guards to the ground. I'm not even going to lie about it. I don't know if that's just, by coincidence, because you look at our history of point guards, the last few we've had, Kyrie Irving, Kimball Walker, Isaiah Thomas, they've all got injured with us. And then for some reason, I don't know if it's our training staff, but carry on. I just wanted to throw that
out. No, shoot, at least you get to run point guards into the ground. We haven't had a solid point guard since Chauncey Billups. And that's coming up a very long time ago, man. But prior to him, it was, I guess you could say Raymond Felton, because he was capable. But before then, you had Stephon Marbury, and we've never had a legit point guard. It's been like years now at this point. We finally thought we had Kemba, but all of a sudden these injuries have added up. And I think and to talk about that John Wall nonsense, no, we're very good on that. We don't want John Wall, not to say he's trash or anything like that, but we're not trying to have that salary on on our team cap. We finally got under that whole nonsense where every year the Knicks had the highest salary but the worst team. We don't want to deal with that anymore. If John Wall wants to come over here on a buyout, and we'll gladly come and accept you, just like how we took in Kimball Walker. But no, we're not taking John Wall for that contract pass.
And clearly, who still runs the city, regardless of the win last night?
Oh, it's still the Knicks. It's still the Knicks. Knicks run the city.
You know what's funny? They asked James Harden that question. They were like, it sounds like there were a lot more Knicks fans there.
It's always.
We have Mike Phillips from the fan zone in the building. Mike was actually at last night's game with some people. I'm not going to mention their names because they suckers in the streets.
Oh man.
So what are your thoughts over here? Go ahead.
So, Carl, I appreciate you letting me in. I always got to come in when Ziggs is here. You know, Ziggs is the true NBA analysis. I don't care what anybody says. He is the man that gives you the true analysis. I was at the game last night, and you are absolutely right. The Knicks still run the city. There were more boos for the Nets in the Barclays Center than I have ever seen before. And there were more chants for New York Knicks and Julius Randle being MVP than there were for anybody else. It was insane. I saw more blue and orange. But I wanted to jump in because Mitchell Robinson is trash. He is trash. He comes in winded. How does a man sit on the bench for 15 minutes and come in winded? He comes in looking like he's ready for a nap. We were saying yesterday, and Peter can, in the chat can call it, because we were all saying, yo, why does he look so winded? They got to keep with Nerlens Noel. You know, he is doing okay, but he's got to work on his feet. I was watching him last night. He plays the salsa too much with his feet on defense, and he can't plant himself. And that's what's screwing him up on getting so many rebounds. Mitchell Robinson, because of his length, is able to get those rebounds, but that's all he's able to do because he's flopping when he's under. They should have been cooking under the basket last night. Who was stopping him? Look at Julius Randle every time he went towards the basket. It was buckets all game. Even Manny, a Nets fan, was saying it. Why is Julius Randle not doing that all game? And I have to say, Julius Randle's got to do a better job as a leader. In the fourth quarter, you cannot get that heated. I understand you think because you're so strong that when you're making a move, they're calling these fouls, but you got to stop with the nonsense going after the ref. Always. It's too emotional, but it's too emotional because as a leader, look at that free throw. Now it's a 1-point game, right? So who knows how the game changes if the Nets were only up by 1 with 2.2, right? Let's just call a spade on that. So I don't know what's going on with this team. They can't close out a game. They don't have that definitive closer right now, right? I made jokes, Evan Baguette Fournier, right? You know, he was cooking it last night, but he's not the answer. RJ Barrett went out with illness. He could be the answer, but you notice if he is not scoring, the Knicks don't play well. If he is not running if he's not running the offense, they're not doing well. So there's a couple of question marks, but I still think this is a playoff team. I still think, no offense, Carl, but I still think that the Knicks will be better than the Celtics for the playoff. We do have that bet going on, but there is some issues. And please do not mention John Wall and the Knicks in the same sentence. There is no
Sorry, guys. You know what? I was trying my best to pay attention, but apparently I got kicked off on Facebook again. I don't know what's going on. And someone keeps reporting me. And this is what happens, I guess, because we got so many numbers. Someone's find a reason to report me every time I share it. But I think it's somebody in our group that's doing it because I only shared it 2 places. I shared it on my own page and I shared it in the Sports Hit List group, and we just got kicked off. So I let people know on Facebook, and now I'm getting pissed off for the simple fact that whoever is blocking or trying to block my content, it's not cool at all, especially on Facebook. And the hard work and the dedication we put into this, I'm going to figure out who the hell keeps trying to block us and why we keep getting blocked every time I share the show on Facebook. It's not cool at all. So for those who are watching...
Does somebody not like my face? Because it's the fan zone that they knock in.
I don't know. I'm really getting annoyed here, man. I'm really trying my best not to get annoyed and be professional about it. But I literally shared it in 2 places. I shared it on the Hit List page and I shared it on my Facebook page, and we got kicked off. And I'm suspended for 6 days. So it's on YouTube and Twitter because we have other platforms. People need to know
right now.
Yeah, it literally just happened as Mike pulled up. It literally just happened as Mike came on. So I don't know who's in there trying to block us. What happened?
Who are you making enemies with?
I don't know, bro. This is what happens in the media game. Somebody's out for me. Somebody has it out.
Happened. I'll tell you guys, this has happened 4 times now because I've been watching it too. Because every time we go on, it's closed. It's stopping on us. So it every time the fan zone has gone on the last 2 weeks, we're getting booted off halfway through the show or even after the show. Someone's reporting us. And then even when he put on the Sports Hit List Live last Thursday, someone reported that and that got kicked off. So something's going on here. Someone is a hater. If you don't like the content, don't be in the group.
Don't watch.
Go watch Coco Melon. Go watch something else, but you don't got to watch us.
It's ridiculous. It's crazy out here. Mike, you got to let me know on your end if it's blocking you for a couple of days, because this is what happens is like you get blocked for a specific amount of days. But Mike, what were your thoughts last night real quick on the Knicks versus Nets game? Did you get a chance to watch it?
Yeah, I did. But hold on, man. You see my man Mikey in here. You know I got to say what's up to my man first. Come on now.
What's up, brother? What's up?
Listen, but Mike, I got some breaking news for you, though. One of us here is a head coach. You know what I'm saying? One of us is a coach.
Who's the head coach? Mike, you a head coach now, man?
No, it's my man Ziggy. My man Ziggy is a head coach for 6th, 7th, 8th
Where you head
graders.
coaching at, Zig?
Say it again, Mike.
Where you head coaching at?
No, head coaching for my school kids, man. 267 here in Bed-Stuy. Yeah, we're gonna have our first game next Friday. So I went from assistant coach before the pandemic to now being the big man in charge. So I'm looking forward to that.
I'm calling it now, Coach of the Year. Coach of the Year, right there.
Let's go. Let's get the numbers up for Coach of the Year. Man, that's great, man. Shouts out to you, Zig.
Appreciate it.
But that game, bro. First of all, I don't. This whole Kimba thing is crazy. They're just that situation just is. I mean, what they're arguing for why he can't be in the rotation, it kind of sort of makes sense, but it really doesn't. But ultimately, I felt like that was one of those games where the Nets were in complete control, fell asleep towards the end of the third, then had to fight the whole rest of the way to get the game home. But I think the third quarter they had solidified themselves. And what yesterday was the first game where we saw James Harden beat James Harden again. Yeah. Yesterday, we even saw a little mid-range jump shot, one of them. But yesterday, he was aggressive because we all heard the little stupid statement he made of, I don't know what I'm supposed to do, or I don't know when to score, none of that. But yesterday, he was ultra, ultra aggressive, and the refs paid attention to it. It wasn't that he was doing dumb stuff like trying to bait fouls. He was really being aggressive, and so I thought that was impressive. KD came on late, and of course, that was one of those cases where they was like, oh, this game looks a little bit close. Oh, snap, but we got KD. Once if you could tell, they just kept giving it to KD. And like, all right, clear it out. We got KD, they don't. And a lot of times, we all know this as NBA fans. Eventually, games like that, when they get tight, who's got the guy? Who's got the superstar? If you don't have him, then you're not going to win. And I don't. These are Knicks fans here, so they could speak more to that. But watching that game, I think it was clear to me from the third, I did not believe the Knicks was going to win because I knew that the Nets had that guy. So eventually, if it was going to come down to that, if your best player on the Knicks is Derrick Rose of 2021 and not Derrick Rose of 2010, then you're not going to win that kind of game. So no, but it was impressive to see James Harden break out of that shell and have a good game.
So Mike, let me ask you this: what are your thoughts on Cardiac Kemba? I asked Ziggy that earlier about how now he's demoted to riding the bench until they can figure out what they want to do with him. We've seen Kemba on the back end of his career now. If you're the Knicks, what do you do? And there's rumors floating around about John Wall. So I know contractually.
John Wall.
Say again.
Not in the same sentence.
sorry. So Mike, what are your thoughts here with Cardiac Kemba? Where does he go from here, and what do the Knicks do with this
position?
It
stinks, man. You know that's one of my guys. Y'all know how I feel about Cardiac Kemba, man. Rice High School zone, man, Harlem. But this is the knees are not good, man. The knees are not good, and they probably just won't be. And again, everybody, they're saying he's small, and people, I think Charles Barkley joked last night, was like, didn't the Knicks know he was 6 feet before they got him? But he can't provide what he used to provide for what he provided for the Hornets. Carl, your team wanted that. He couldn't really do that for y'all. His knee wasn't good enough. And sadly, he can't do that for the Knicks. So I think this is the beginning of the transition out of the league. This is how it starts. You get a couple demotions, certain teams, because he should be able to play for the Knicks. Because I think Monica McNutt said it on ESPN yesterday. It's not like the Knicks have someone that desperately has to come in over Kimball. Like, they didn't draft any young stud or anything like that. Right. But this is just the aging. This is what we see. You can't give us 25, 30 anymore. It's almost like a Melo situation. When Melo couldn't accept his role and you don't play defense and you're not getting your buckets, then no one needs you. Melo found a way to be needed. So hopefully Kemba can understand, okay, let me take a lesser role before it's too late. Because we all remember AI's career. AI had more years to play if he could just accept coming off the bench and accept a lesser role. Kemba Kemba has to accept that now. The Knicks, as far as the Knicks probably have to trade him. Try to get what you can.
That contract.
But for who? Yeah, I mean, what's available is the question. Yeah, who's available and who do you pick up at this point? Who
that could be addition by subtraction.
Yeah.
Just to get rid of him.
And it's a team-friendly contract. It's because I think he has a team option after this year, so somebody will be willing to pick him up because he's not a big hit on their cap.
Yeah.
The other main event, the Warriors versus the Suns last night.
Yeah, was
a goodie. Yeah, we all watched that game. I definitely watched that game. Ray Jarvis, shout out to him on the Gray Area, just said that anyone who's rooting for any other team that's not the Suns or the Warriors, just pack it up. This is the Western Conference Finals. He's saying this now in November. I don't find a difference with me saying the Warriors are going to the finals and him saying they're going to the Western Conference Finals now. So, and Greg did warn me. He did say that this team looks pretty good, and I told him no. So I'll give him a shout out for that. I rarely do that. But Mike Phillips, let me start with you. What were your thoughts of the game? Is this the Western Conference Finals moving forward? Do the other teams in the Western Conference, can they compete?
Nah, there's no other team that really can compete right now. You know, Uncle Wendell, look, he looked a little shaky at times, but he stepped up when he needed to. I was more upset that Devin Booker came out early in the game. I wanted to see him cook, right? I wanted to see the true matchups, right? You don't like when a star goes down or a superstar. Well, we won't go into that type of debate right now, but when someone like that goes down, you're like, damn, I want to see the best of the best go against each other. But the Suns look good, man. The Suns look good. They both have complementing pieces. So it's like a chess match. And I think in a 7-game series, that is going 7 games, double overtime, and it's a coin flip of who wins it, right? Because I think they're so complemented right now that you could go either way. I'm picking one of them to go to the championship finals because either one has the pieces to walk right through. I don't see anybody in the East either taking them. I don't see anybody in the East competing with them either. I think one way or the other, that championship is going to the West.
Diggs, what were your thoughts with the game?
The game was fantastic, man. Normally, I'm always one to quickly assume. I'll assume, but I'll still watch. The minute Devin Booker went out, I'm like, man, here we go. We about to see Phoenix, roll over and the Warriors about to continue cooking. But Steph was off all night. He was missing everything. I mean, air ball after air ball. Some shots he was missing on his own, but Phoenix came out with a great defensive game plan to, kind of keep him contained. And with that, you only had Jordan Poole, I believe, going off for like 28 points. Nobody else really contributed like that. Whereas on the Phoenix side of things, everybody kind of picked it up. Mikal Bridges only had 2 points, but he was effective on the defensive end. DeAndre Ayton had, 25 and 14.
Did you see those blocks?
Yeah, he was on it last night. He was on it last night. Chris Paul, he had 15 and 11, and you getting extra help from Cameron Johnson off the bench. You got what's my man name you got Jay Crowder knocking in key 3-pointers when you need it. Just an excellent game plan coming out. I agree with Mike. I was talking about it with my brother yesterday. I think whoever the Nets play in the West, they're gonna lose. Personally, that's what I think right now, especially not having Kyrie Irving. And it's definitely gonna be between the Warriors and the Phoenix Suns, because right now the Clippers ain't going nowhere. The Lakers are very, very shaky right now. Defensively, they look horrible. They're not gelling. The Lakers are the version of the Knicks, in my opinion. No chemistry. Defense is a bit shaky. Guys are missing. You see LeBron is back, in health and protocols now. So it's just looking really bad for them. The Denver Nuggets are playing, so-so, especially without Jamal Murray. The Timberwolves are too young. Portland Trailblazers have been very shaky this year. So, Utah, I'm sorry, Mike. I know you love Donovan Mitchell, but I'm not believing in Utah. I can't do it, man. So I definitely agree that it's got to go down between Phoenix and Golden State Warriors. It was a hell of a game, and I'm looking for the rematch in a couple of days.
Mike, what were your thoughts? I know this is your type of game. We've seen the best of the best. These two teams, clearly the best record in the NBA right now. So overall, what were your thoughts of the game?
Man, I was super excited going into the game. Let me just start with going into the game. It was incredible just to think about. We haven't seen a matchup like this with teams with almost a 90% winning percentage going against each other at the same time. I think Kenny Smith was talking about his Houston Rockets was like 23-2 going up against the Seattle Supersonics at like 20-3 or something like that. But and especially I intently watched the Phoenix Brooklyn game on, I think that was Sunday, because I wanted to see those matchups because I knew the Warriors blew them out Brooklyn a week ago. But going into the game, I thought that the Warriors, like I feel about the whole year, the Warriors in a lot of ways are playing with house money because what Phoenix has is what Phoenix has. Like, they're playing great, but this is the best they're going to be unless DeAndre Ayton or Devin Booker go to another level. This is what they're going to be. The Warriors are getting an all-star. They're going to get Clay. So they're doing this without Clay and Wiseman. So I felt like going into the game, while both teams needed the win, and need is maybe too direct. It is November, but it was good as a good measuring rod. I think that the Warriors had that little caveat to say, well, we don't have Clay yet. So whatever you saw last night, or even what you're going to see Friday, you're going to see more than that when Clay comes back. But the game was phenomenal. I thought, like, I agree with Zig. I thought they had a great game plan. Monty Williams had a great game plan for Steph. And it's really not a new game plan. It's the pretty much basic game plan everyone has. Be physical with him. And they were able to get away with that because they're at home. Be physical with him. Try to make him work on offense. And I believe people actually try to score on. I believe this is the strategy always when you play against the Warriors. It's just hard to execute, especially when you don't have the pieces. They were able to execute that. DeAndre Ayton did enough in the paint. He didn't dominate them in the paint. He just did enough to make it. I think the paint differential was 44-40. So he did enough to make them honest in the paint. But I do believe that if I'm the Suns, this was just my thought after the game, I'd be very nervous coming in on Friday because it's going to be in the Chase Center and Steph's not going to shoot 4 for 21. You're not going to get to foul him like that. So it could get real dark, especially if Devin Booker is still nursing that hamstring. It could get very ugly because notice we said Chris Paul played a good game. He had 15 and 11. We never allow Steph to have 15 and 11 and say he had a good game. So there's different standards we have for Chris Paul than no one else. But he did control the tempo late in the game, and it was really Jay Crowder's, to Zig's point, everybody working together. Jay Crowder's 2 threes back-to-back at the end of the fourth quarter kind of pushed the Suns ahead. So I look for Steph to have a very huge game on Friday. And then I really do think Phoenix is probably going to get blown out on Friday. But it was a great game. Go ahead, Mike.
No, yeah, I was just going to say, I have to say also, I'm looking forward to those matchups going into January and February when Clay comes back, right? When you get that X factor of Clay as well, because then I want to see how that complements against the Suns. So that's also the X factor. If they make it to the Western Conference Finals, look at how competitive they're playing against each other right now. And Golden State doesn't have all their pieces. I don't care what the troll said, Andres, in regards to Clay. Clay is that X factor that when he comes on, it's going to be that 1-2-3 punch with him, Draymond, and Clay.
Speaking of that, you know me, I'm a man of research, and Andres had to make a point last week. I just want to throw this out there. Last week he was talking about, what did Steve Kerr do differently, right? And his main point was that he inserted Draymond into the starting lineup. but that was by default. I did my research.
David Lee got
hurt. David Lee got hurt.
Thank you. Yes.
Carl, you know your history, man. We all knew it. Like,
we forgot to mention that to him. We
be talking too much. David Lee got hurt,
and
because he ain't want to do it either. He was right with Mark Jackson here. It was by necessity. But Mikey, we may get that taste Christmas because Clay is already working 100% with their G League team. And it's always been projected that he was going to play Christmas. They play Phoenix on Christmas. So we may see it on Christmas, what that looks like. But to answer the initial question, Carl, no, I think these are the cream of the crop in the West. Utah they're starting to play better, especially hitting their threes and defense. They annihilated Portland the other day. Not that means that much, but Portland ain't that good.
It's Portland, come on.
But let me ask you guys this. Do you see the Suns kind of like the 2014 Spurs? Like they have redemption, because I feel like they have a redemption to get back to the finals and win it again, because they're playing great. They're playing at a high level, and they remind me of that Spurs team that lost to the Heat in 2013 and then come back the following year to get back to the finals and then take it all. So is that a fair comparison to say that they have that chip on their shoulder? Like, listen, we have the momentum. We want to get back to the finals. Is that fair to say, Mike Phillips? Okay, Mike Phillips.
I would say yes. I do think there's a chip on their shoulder because they should have won against Milwaukee. I think they just gassed out because Chris Paul just put his heart on the line the series before to make it to the championship, and I think they just lost that steam. Right? They didn't have that momentum. They lost one or two, and then it was just they didn't have that steam to come back. So I think that had the biggest factor. So I think you go forward and see what you can do. I think this is their redemption. I think right now, Golden State's the only one that can stop them. And if they don't, they're raising that for Chris Paul this year. And he retires after this.
Mike Miller, you said you disagree. Why is that?
I think you can have the general of, do they have a chip on their shoulder? Yeah, but I think most NBA players have chips on their shoulders. But the huge difference with that 2014 Spurs team, they lost miraculously. Like, if we're honest, game 6, they were roping it off for them to start popping champagne. Ray Allen hits the 3, changes everything. They were poised to win the series versus Phoenix was just up in the series against Milwaukee, but they were not poised to win the series. We may have picked them going in. They weren't poised. And another huge factor is the Spurs were littered with champions everywhere. So they knew what it took to be champions. The Suns don't have any champions. That was Chris Paul's first time making it to the finals. So while he may be bitter, he didn't know what that felt like to win. Like, the Spurs can always, their core, even though Kawhi was there for the loss, the Spurs always can rely on their core. Timmy, Manu, and Tony, they can always rely on, and Pop, they can rely on their championship pedigree that year that propelled them to play the Heat again and blow them out. But I think that's what the Warriors have in their favor. Those are the champions. They already know what that's like. And now they're back in a driver's seat, so to speak, with their championship core of Clay, Draymond, Steph, and Steve Kerr. So I believe they have the bigger chip and the pedigree to go with it to propel them to the chip.
Ziggs, what are your thoughts here? Do you see them as the Spurs or more like the Utah Jazz who went back-to-back and who got back and lost?
I don't see them as the Spurs, because I'm sitting here thinking, I'm saying to myself, like Mike said, Spurs been to the championship. The Spurs have championships. I definitely see them as the Utah Jazz. I think they're going to be that team that, always get like very, very close, and then they're just going to fall behind, because I have the Phoenix Suns and the Warriors going to the Western Conference Finals, but I don't have the Phoenix Suns coming out of the Western Conference Finals. That's going to the Warriors. I personally believe one thing that is different about the Phoenix Suns and the quote-unquote the San Antonio Spurs comparison is that the San Antonio Spurs was an actually deep team. Phoenix Suns is not that deep of a team, with the exception of Cameron Johnson. Who else can you name on the team that's coming off the bench that's going to provide? Whereas if you look at the Warriors, I could work with, a Gary Payton Jr. coming off the bench. I could work with the young boy Damian Lee. I could work with Jordan Poole.
Otto Porter. Otto Porter looks resurrected. He looks resurrected, bro. He really does. I'm watching him. He looks really good.
Yeah.
This is what happens when you go into that system. That system
he was resurrected because we were on the verge of calling Otto Porter a bum
no, we're not on the verge. We were.
No, we were. No,
we were.
That's right.
And we called him a thief.
Ain't no on the verge. He was a bum.
And we were calling him a thief too. We were calling him a thief early too.
We absolutely were calling him a thief. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But last night he looked pretty good off the bench. I think he had.
And then remember beforehand, he had a double last week, I believe. He had a huge double. He was putting up numbers.
He's been playing great. When you get in that system, things start to happen. And to Zig's point, listen, with the Warriors, if we're honest, Steph, Clay, and Dre, when they have been healthy, they have not lost a Western Conference series since 2014.
Wow,
they haven't lost. Wow. When they're healthy, they have not lost. So we get this, and we have to depend on you. And you basically, that series, you're going to have to tell me, like in the finals last year, you're going to tell me that Chris Paul has to be something we've never seen. What we saw him do against the Clippers when when Kawhi wasn't there, but we saw him get these huge numbers. That's exactly what we needed to see him do in the finals. He couldn't do it. You're asking us to see him do that against the Warriors. And you're asking him to do that against Steph, Clay, and Dre. We've never seen it. So unless he's going to do something miraculous. 15-11 ain't going to cut it, baby. Not for no 7-game series. You can do that one night in November. You ain't going to do that you got to do that for 2 weeks. You got to get big numbers. 15-11 ain't going to do it. So, no, I think
all right.
It's a true story. But no.
And honestly, there's only one other thing to really discuss in the league, clearly. Yeah, other teams are playing well. We know that. But the best player in the world title, Ray Jarvis, again, he mentioned it on his show that Steph is the best player in the world. I don't think we've ever had that discussion, who's the best currently right now. He said Steph is. Are we going to go on the lines and agree that he is and he's surpassed? I've even seen memes that say Steph is one championship and one MVP away from surpassing LeBron. So like
that's
Steph,
crazy.
So the narrative about Steph being in that best player in the world category is floating around in the air. So is it safe to say that he is right now and even finishing all time, Steph is playing at a high level? So Mike Miller, what are your thoughts there?
Absolutely. I mean, nobody should be trying to argue that there's anyone else better than him right now. And I think he's a victim of his height. If he was 6'7" and doing all the stuff he's been doing over the years, we'd easily be putting him in the conversation as top 10. We don't do it because he's 6'3". And I think Isaiah Thomas mentioned that the small guys never get no love. Because if you look at Steph's resume right now, if he retires today, people actually try to argue he's not the second greatest point guard ever. What argument can you make looking at his numbers? I tell you, if he gets this chip, he gets the MVP because he's in pace to win the MVP. That one's more or less, unless something miraculous happens, he's going to win MVP because him and Devin Booker, who may be there, Devin Booker's not going to get there.
I think you're forgetting one player, bro. I hate to cut you off, but you're forgetting one person. No, you're forgetting KD, my guy.
KD.
No, you know what their problem's going to be. They're going to look at it and say, oh, snap. So you got a dude on your team that's a former MVP and scored 38 yesterday? Oh, nah, you ain't winning it. Steph's not going to have that. He's got all of the same reasons he won it in 2014, 2015. It's going to be the same reason this year. They're going to look at it and say, all right, KD, Steph, all right, he beat you at the head. But besides the fact Clay is coming off an injury, so they're going to give him the injury excuse and say Steph is by himself. But I think he wins this championship, he gets the league MVP, and then if he gets finals MVP, maybe we got to start talking about top 10 all time. We got to start having that conversation.
But he wasn't in the top 10 all time before that, though?
He in my top 10 all time.
Oh, yeah, right. Okay.
He's right on the fringe.
Right. But Ziggs, let me ask you this. It's just like, are we prisoners of the moment? Because I remember last year around this time, we were saying KD is the best player in the world, right? And we were having this debate. And after Giannis won his championship, we said, you know what? Giannis is the best player in the world. So it's like
ain't no we. I didn't say that.
The hitless streets were very popular. We had this conversation. No, but I'm saying we definitely had the conversation about it. But now we're saying Steph is the best player in the world. So are we kind of being prisoners of the moment, or is it true to say that Steph can be considered the best player in the world? Ziggs?
I mean, what is basketball if you're not prisoners of the moment? You know what I mean? We pay attention to what's happening, and the minute something is, spectacular, we run with that, right? So right now, what are we going to be running with? We're going to be running with Stephen Curry because he came out this season on fire, you know what I mean? And he's been on fire with the exception of this game last night. I was definitely, before you had mentioned it, when you brought the point up, I was like, damn, the only other person that I could think of right now is Kevin Durant. So with Kevin Durant, I'm just like, he, as Mike alluded to, he has James Harden. That's what the media is going to use as their excuse. And right now, the Warriors have the better record, right? You have Stephen Curry playing with Mr. Wiggins, Draymond Green, all these other young dudes. But Stephen Curry is the engine that is making that train go right now. So I have to give that credit to Stephen Curry. And I got to agree with Job, and I got to agree with Mike that right now, Steph is the best player. He is the front runner for MVP. And he's definitely going to be, for sure, top 10 if they happen to win the championship this year. I pray they beat the Nets if the Nets go, because you already know I ain't rooting for no Nets for no championship.
Mike Phillips, what are your thoughts here? Best player in the world. Are you giving that tag to Steph?
So I think when you say the best player in the world, you got to look at what their stats have been, right? You can't, like, I was upset about the fact that we were saying Giannis last year was best player in the world because we were suspect to the moment, right? We were trapped in the moment, and we were saying because of how he played in the playoffs and how he played that season, but that was that season. Steph has been proven year after year. He makes buckets. He puts up numbers. He plays defense. He's always a high caliber player. I think the problem that Steph has, and Mike could allude to this too with a Reggie Miller, 3-point players.
Well, you talking about the light-skinned brothers?
That's
what you say.
Let me cook for a second. 3-point shooters don't get enough respect. And the reason why is because they're not looked at as having enough versatility, right? They're not looked at as the all-around player. They're looked at as a person that's going to put up points because of their shooting ability, but they're not looked upon as the overall package. But then you have someone like Steph. Steph doesn't just shoot the three. He's great at the three, but he's also driving to the buckets, right? He's driving to the basket, but he also plays D. If you look at his defensive mechanisms, right? And you look at his defensive stats are right up there with his 3-point shooting and with his versatility to still put up points, even if his shooting is not there. So when you look at that, yes, you have to say right now, he's the best player. I can't say in the world because it's tough because his career's not over yet, right? You can't say best player in the world because his career's not over yet. Let him continue at the versatility that he's doing to say he's the best player in the world. Is he the best player right now? Absolutely. But look, KD continues putting the numbers up that he's doing over his career. You don't say he's the best player.
Here's the thing, though. You know what, Mike? But Mike, we've been labeling LeBron best player in the world.
I was just about to say that.
We've been doing that for years. We've been doing that for years, bro. We have.
Yo, Carl, I hate this word. Stop saying we. We ain't said nothing.
Okay, I'm speaking for the general. Okay, Mike. I'm speaking for the general. I'm speaking for the general public. The general public labels the best player in the world as LeBron. They've been doing it for years.
True. You get the Lifetime Achievement Award.
Yes, I never said LeBron was the best player in the world, only because I think that LeBron needed help to win certain championships. He needed help on his teams. He needed help.
So did everybody, though. We can't do
that. No. You know what Mike is talking about. Don't even try it, Carl. You know what he's talking about.
I don't know what he's talking about. Everybody.
You know what he's talking about. No, it's not general help. You know what he's talking about, so stop it. You know what he's talking about.
We're not going to do that. We're not going to use that help card because you want to go in the trajectory of everyone's list of who needed help to win championships. That's what we're going to do right now. We're not going to do that. I'm not turning the page. I'm being honest.
Let me finish. Let me finish. I didn't finish my paragraph yet. My paragraph in this paper is stating that LeBron is a great player, but he did need help at times and needed to find help at times to be able to get over that.
Speak it, Mike. Don't make no face like that. Speak it. Go ahead, speak it, Mike. Yeah. Don't make no face now. Carl, listen, Mikey said he's not 17 years old. He has a good memory. He remembers what happened. He knows why he went to Miami. We're not going to hide that.
I'm a 36-year-old man that watched his whole career.
Listen, we've all watched LeBron's career. We're not going to use the help card. Everyone's needed help to win. We're not going to do that.
Carl, we're not going to do that.
We're not going to do that. That's a conversation.
Carl,
what's part of what story? That he needed help? Everybody needed help. We're not.
No. See,
so wait. So Mike, you've never labeled him the best player in the world, is what you're saying, right?
No, I'm not saying that.
No. Mike Phillips is saying that.
Phillips.
Okay, so Mike, let me ask you this question though. So from that point in time, where rest in peace, Kobe Bryant. From that 2010, when Kobe passed the torch, who was the best player in the world, if not LeBron?
You have to understand, I go by best player in the world when their career is over. I don't say best player in the world while they're playing, because things can happen. There could be somebody else that comes in and takes over that torch very quickly. You can't label somebody a best player in the world for a specific moment, and then all of a sudden next season saying someone else. No, we
always do it though. Yes, we did it during Jordan's prime. What are you talking about? Like, come on now, stop it.
Jordan still is the best.
Not do it during Jordan's prime.
And Jordan is still the best player in the world.
Mikey, stop trying to straddle the fence, man. We pick one. You can do it.
What are we talking about?
You can do it. Yo, listen, Carl. It's real simple. You can't. It's the same thing when we talk about MVP every year, and everybody thinks MVP goes to one person the same year. No, it's fluid. Jordan couldn't win MVP every year because some years people had better years. LeBron was not the best player in the league forever. No, it changed. Remember, me and Ant had a whole show where he wanted to argue with me about Steph wasn't the best player in the league in 2015 when he won unanimous MVP. He was the best player in the league. Like, it changes, bro. You don't get it forever. No, it changes.
No, it changes, but LeBron had a great, you would say, a 5-year stretch, 6 year stretch.
Hold on.
Did he have great?
Yes, from 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015 was the dawning of Steph. So
2015 is switched.
Right, but that's a good 4 or 5 years, though. That's what I'm saying.
I won't argue the 4 or 5 years, even though I agree with my man Mikey that we're going to keep the story accurate, that somebody couldn't win and then went to another man's team and brought 2 superstars with him. We're going to keep that story as part of it. We're not going to take that out and say, oh, well, just everybody had help. No, we're not doing that. We're going to be specific. We're just going to take everybody
and Mike Phillips, to your point about Giannis, I think the reason why people latched on to him as the best player in the world last year was because of everything he's accomplished at his age.
That's right.
27 years old, NBA Finals champion, NBA Finals MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, 2-time MVP. I think that's the reason we were latching onto him as the best player in the world.
And name the main part too. It's the how. He was on his own team. He didn't leave.
Yeah.
He didn't get a super team. That's why.
But we could say that even quicker for Steph. Coming out of Davidson, nobody gave him the respect he deserved, and he came into the league fucking, excuse my French, gunning. He was throwing it. He was winning. He was winning it. He was beating people at an early age. So he was making more accolades than Giannis even before 27. And he was coming out of Davidson where nobody thought he was gonna be in the league for more than
but listen again, to use your argument against you, Steph had the help that Giannis didn't. I'm just saying.
Hold on, man.
Wait a second. What help?
Listen, Mike Miller, am I wrong? No.
What help?
So I think a lot of times, Carl, Steph's help is overstated to the point that we diminish. Because see, here's the thing. With LeBron, we give him credit because he makes players better. But we don't give Steph. Nobody knew no one knew who Klay Thompson was as a 13th pick. Nobody heard of him. Nobody knew about him. The Warriors scouted him. Draymond was a 2nd-round pick. They are who they are because they get an opportunity to play with Stephen Curry. Not a lot has been talked about that. That's to Mikey's point of he made Draymond and all of them with Steve Kerr in that system. He made all of them better. Giannis had the opportunity to do that. His game had to adjust. They had to get the right coaches. They had to get the right players, etc. But Draymond, Steph, and Klay, those 2 benefit from playing with him. And so not a lot has been made of that. And when they win the championship this year, you're going to hear that conversation come up. And people are going to look back and say, oh, wow, they went 18-2 and Klay wasn't even playing. So what?
Carl, I'm gonna refute your question and your rebuttal to me right now. The difference between a Steph and a LeBron, those guys were homegrown. They were drafted into that system. Steph didn't go out. Yes, did he get a KD later on? I'll give you that. But he didn't start with that type of team. He built that team around players that were drafted around.
But that's not his fault. But you see, but that's a matter of circumstance, though. We can't do that. Ziggs,
Yeah,
help me out here.
Yeah, who you go to matters. Like
circumstance matters. Ziggs, you've been quiet on here. Go ahead, jump in.
I mean, for me personally, I understand the whole argument about, this player needed this kind of help, this player needed that kind of help, but every player needs help. I'm sorry. I can't, just sit here and forget that. And it's what you do with that help. You know what I mean? You look at somebody like Trae Young, before he went on, remember he spazzed out because he needed some help. He said the team was kind of shaky. The minute he got a team, what happened? He went straight to the Eastern Conference Finals, albeit, we had the injuries and whatnot. But you do what you can, right? And LeBron has done the most with what he's had, regardless if he had to run to Miami, which we all know. We're not going to forget it. I sure as hell won't forget it.
Thank you, Dave. We're not forgetting that. Story. Carl trying to make excuses. He beat your team. You should be beating that drum with us. Man. You beat your team because of that.
No, I got over the decision. That's been 11 years ago.
Carl, he beat you into submission? That's bad,
brother. Listen. No, it's not at all. Listen, I remember it, but when Mike says that he had help, listen, my guy needed help. My guy needed like two Hall of Famers just to get one. So I understand.
You knew what he was talking about.
I understand.
Let me throw a comment for y'all real quick, because I'm on the YouTube page because of the clown that's doing the foolishness, right? And I was trying to figure out who BK Dodgers 718 was, and I finally figured out who it was.
Anthony. That's Anthony.
He said, "We see what happened last year when Steph didn't have any help." I was like, okay, that's Anthony.
Yeah, they went to playoffs. It was an 8 seed, and in a regular, they was an 8 seed, and in every normal year, they would have been the 8 seed. But you see what's happening now. Stop asking me. And stop talking about last year. They're 18-3 right now. Shut up. Like, he ain't got
but again, that conversation, like, there's a lot of factors. Do we factor in? And you guys make a great point. Do you factor in, quote unquote, the help when you're talking about the best player in the world? Do you factor in accolades? Do you factor in stats? Do you factor in popularity? What does it take to get you that title of best player in the world?
Look at Mike. Mike didn't have a squad for about 6-7 years, and he was getting washed every year. The minute he got a squad, Dennis Rodman, Ron Harper, Scottie Pippen, you got Phil Jackson now to coach you. All of a sudden, we start leveling up, and we forget that, that team helped Mike. Mike was the main individual, yes, but somebody had to pass you the ball. Somebody had to defend. Somebody had to get the rebound. Somebody had to set the screen. Somebody had to shoot the three, Steve Kerr. Like, you have to have a squad, and it's what you do with that squad. I think that's what it is. So, and if you compare Mike and LeBron, yes, they all had help. Who did the most? Mike did. Mike. I think you gotta look.
I think you gotta look at the one.
You're talking about in the championships, right? Yeah.
It's totally different, though. You gotta look at it. It's totally different, because this is what these conversations dive us deeper into the how. We don't just look, oh, this guy has 6, this guy has 4, cool, that's it. No, we dive in deeper. So when you talk about help, it's not just a general, oh, you had help. It's that Michael Jordan was on a team that wasn't good. They drafted Scottie Pippen. Again, nobody knew who Scottie Pippen was. They drafted him 13th. Scottie Pippen developed playing with an already all-star Michael Jordan, versus LeBron's help. D-Wade was already a champion and a finals MVP, and he joined him, and then joined another all-star and Chris Bosh. There has been no championship that LeBron has that there was not an already all-star that he played with. Meaning no one developed into an all-star with LeBron except for Mo Williams. And he didn't win a championship with Mo Williams. But every single championship, there were already perennial all-stars that he played with. That's not the case for Michael Jordan. So that's what this conversation does. It talks into the nuance.
So then that means Kobe gets a notch down, because Kobe never really developed any talent either. You're looking at his
right. But now what you got to look at, they went from nothing to all he got was Paul Gasol, and then they won back-to-back championships.
Right. Yeah.
Paul Gasol's going to make it to the Hall of Fame because everybody makes it to the Basketball Hall of Fame. But compare Paul Gasol to a Finals MVP, which is what D-Wade was in the prime of his career. That's what the conversation.
One last player. Like. Okay, so one last player, KD. Then KD, if you're putting KD in that, KD didn't develop any talent either in that.
But notice, this is a perfect example, Carl. Notice what happened when LeBron goes to Miami. Initially, we all say, "Yeah, man, he got help." But when he wins a championship, we say, "Oh, he's the greatest." KD goes to the Warriors. We say, he's back. He's trying to orchestrate his championship. He wins 2, blows out LeBron in that, and they say, oh, well, so what? He played with Steph. So this is what I'm saying. The narrative changes for certain people. When we want them to be the greatest, we ignore that. All we're saying, thanks to Mikey bringing it up, is if we can remember that KD went and joined Steph, then we can also remember that LeBron went and joined the Finals MVP.
Yeah,
we got to remember.
And I
all
think,
that.
listen, I think when you look at the best player in the world, if you're making that analysis, you got to look at longevity of career too, right? You can't just say that they're a blip on a stats, that they had 1 great season or 2 great seasons. Like, it's the longevity. And yes, LeBron puts up numbers. I'm not going to deny LeBron is a great player. Do I think he's best in the world? I'm a hater, so I can't say that. I just don't.
So there
like
it
LeBron.
is. There it is.
Like
there it is.
I don't.
There it is.
I don't.
You're talking about longevity. Jordan took 2 breaks, bro. Like, there it is. Like, what are we doing? What
do you mean? But he still had a long career. What are you talking about?
That's such a stupid thing people say. I could take 2 breaks too when I destroy the league. I can take 2 breaks too. If I win 3 in a row, I can do whatever I want, bro. If I can do whatever I want. People got to stop making that a knock on Michael Jordan. He taking breaks after winning 3 in a row. I could do whatever I want when I terrorize the league.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us.
No. We have 4 minutes.
I got a special guest coming in. I got a special guest. Bro, we've been on for like 40 minutes. I got a special guest coming on. What else you got to say? What do you mean?
You want to talk some more? I don't know.
You can keep talking. I'm shutting it off. Listen, what you mean 4 minutes? I gotta go.
Hold on. If we want to look at you for 4 minutes, we can look at you for 4 minutes. We ain't gotta say nothing. My man said we got 4 minutes. Stop doing this.
Listen, I gotta head to class, man. I gotta go to class. Shut the system down and go to class. Don't you gotta go, coach?
No, that's next week. If your guest is not Rick Pitino, we don't want to hear it.
Shouts out to Zig. Zig, I'm with you, Zig. We're not accepting this no more, Carl. This is disrespectful. We're not accepting it.
Mike and Zig, you have an open invitation to the fan zone next week. We can talk a whole hour.
That's where I'm going.
Okay.
That's where I'm going. This disrespect is unbelievable. He calls himself an NBA fan. This disrespect.
You guys are crazy.
But they will sit and use all the minutes for every football session. I don't.
That's not true. That's not true. That's not true. Football didn't get a show on Sunday. They didn't get a show on Sunday.
I gotta tell you though. I hope I impressed Ziggs and Mike with my NBA analysis, because I'm never on these panels.
we gonna pull up to your spot, Mikey, because we see there's no respect here. Carl just he's supposed to be our guy, and we get our 2 minutes cut all the time. He cut 10 minutes from us just because he want to talk baseball.
We did NBA all day today. There was no baseball, no football today. What are you talking about?
You heard what my man Zig said. If it was 4 minutes left, it's 4 minutes left. It doesn't matter if we want to look at you. It doesn't matter. Stop trying to.
Anything else you want to say? Anything else y'all want to talk about?
Hold on. I want to shout out Anthony Edwards, Ant-Man.
Yes.
He is incredible. I watched him bank up my paces. I'm very tight about that. He's a star, okay?
Yeah.
He's a star moving up. I just want to shout him out. I also want to shout out all of those who, hey, cutie. I want to shout out all of those who thought they was nice and was revealed that they're not. Shouts out to this era's Scottie Pippen, Pascal Siakam. That's who he is. He is Scottie Pippen. He is someone that the year after the guy that's great plays with you, you look decent, but then we keep going another year and you look like a bum. No, well, not a bum, but you look like a good little role player. So shouts out to this era, Scottie Pippen, Pascal Siakam. Toronto is trash.
Yes, I agree. I'm with Mike.
And then another thing, I've honestly been on Kyrie Irving watch. Just looking at this Nets team and them trying to go. I'm trying to just to know, is he going to come back or not? And do we have any faith that he may appear after the All-Star break? Nothing.
There's talks he gets traded. There's talks he gets traded to Dallas for KP. That was a rumor that he gets traded.
Really?
Yeah, there was a rumor. Eddie Gonzalez told me that yesterday at the Nets game. I don't know where he got his source.
He ain't got no sources.
Where his sources? Where did he get it from?
No, if it's not, listen. We know we have our own source. One not preaching it, we ain't talking about it.
I don't believe it.
Yeah, it's not coming from one. We ain't talking about it.
I ain't believing it.
All right, got 4:59. I gave you those 2 extra minutes. All right. See, I made up for it. I gave you those 2 extra minutes.
Thank you.
I'll talk to y'all soon. I love y'all, man. Be safe.
Peace.